All right, everybody. Welcome to the podcast new format. Get to introduce you to people I love, my friends. Ryan Magada in the house today. Ryan, so glad you could come.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Has probably the coolest name business ever. So tell us, just brief introduction here, what you do, and can't wait for people to hear about it. And I'll share some personal stuff in a sec.
Yeah, personal stuff. Oh, God. So I run a branding agency in Columbus called Brave Little Beast. I've been branding companies here in Columbus for the past 12 years. And really, like, our specialty is just helping brands find their magic. And so we do that through design, strategy, and marketing. We help all sorts of businesses. We've really kind of, have found a niche, not niche down, because we still help people outside of this, but service-based businesses are our jam. And we've really found a process and a way to guide them from idea to, to actually launching and going to market. The craziest thing is like the repeated story of people who are unfulfilled in a really high-paying corporate job, who have always had an idea, and then through a conversation they're like, I'm gonna launch out, I'm gonna step out and do this, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And I've had the pleasure of walking a handful of people through those transitions from high up positions, whether it's Ohio Health or Battelle or any of those, out to do their own thing, and watching them be really fulfilled has been awesome.
Dude, I love it. Brave Little Beast. Tell us the name of the workshop that you do, the intro workshop, where you kind of like break it all down for people. And then I want to tell people about it and how powerful it is.
Yeah. So, up until last year, it was Beast School. And so like really had a hard time saying it. And then everybody would say B School. And I'm like, oh my God. So we actually switched it to the Brand Magic Workshop. It's really like, I guess you could say, my life's work at this point. So we perform these 6-hour workshops. I have had people who have gone through StoryBrand go through this and blew it out of the water. Like, absolutely, they have the clarity that they couldn't get through other processes. The process is so tight now, and the exercises are so tight that people can't believe that 6 hours you can get that much clarity. So that's been, it's been pretty fun I think I've done it for 120 businesses now at this point. Which is just, it's like when I look back at all of like the clients who've gone through it and the testimonials, and then check back with them, and they're like, still resonates. They use the document all the time to gut check, to move forward. So, yeah.
That's awesome. It's fun to me when we do the video, when we put the video out for the podcast, people are going to see how relaxed I am, because I almost spilled some drink on myself right when you were sharing. And what's fun to me is like how, I just get into the flow with you, and I want people to hear about it. I'm excited. Usually I would ask that at the end, right? Let them get to know Ryan, know him as a person, and then they're interested and they want to know, but I'm like jumping right in. So apologies on that, because for me, I have been so impacted. I mean, it's 12 years ago, right? Sitting at a Starbucks, we met, and I've watched you do what so many people don't, and that is lock in at the next level of cruising altitude, and then reinvent to the next, and reinvent to the next. And I think it's a way that we've stayed close and connected, because like the things that I'm stretching into, new thoughts, consciousness, whatever, and then you're like right there. So
always the excited. Parallel. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Where right now do you feel like life or business, wherever your heart or mind goes the most, that you go, man, I feel like there's some momentum here and I'm loving that. It may be what you've already spoke to with the business, and where are you challenged?
So I think right now, like the area where I really feel like I'm winning, like as an agency, I feel like we're really hitting stride with the size of projects now, where like we're on track to have our first like $500,000 year. And so for me, when I first started out, so like Brave Little Beast is like my third evolution of a business. But 6 years ago, I started Brave Little Beast, and only wanted to be like a solopreneur. I was like, I don't want a team. I don't want to do anything. It's just going to be me. And like, it's just kind of grown organically, and I found some amazing people along the way, Adam and Nick. And really, like, that to me kind of blows my mind. Like, when I look at those numbers, I'm like, really? Like, this was just like me sitting in a coffee shop. I worked at a Mission Coffee and One Line and all those. And so I feel like that is huge. Like, that revenue goal for us is huge. Our systems are tight, our processes are tight, and we're able to sell them for, you know, a fair value there. So that, and like really like where I'm kind of like, I'm feeling lagging right now. And it was even just through COVID, was just like health stuff. Like, it's not even like necessarily business related. Like, I just kind of let it go. Like, I had lost a bunch of weight before COVID, and then like just through the depression of just being locked in my room for like however many months, just lost sight of like exercising, paying attention. Like, how is my mind doing? How's my body doing? How's my soul doing? Like, all of those things. And so just trying to find that again, and trying to get that back on track. Cause I mean, that is everything. You pivot from your health. You're able to do good work because of your health. And if you're not taking care of that, so that's kind of the area where like right now I'm just like, I'm struggling with it. I just had the nastiest. So have you ever had agape? Like, there's a new, no, not good Lord. Yes. No, but Agape is a Mediterranean place. And the other day we did have a DoorDash deliver, and his name was Jesus. And I took all sorts of screenshots, and it was like all about being delivered by Jesus. Your door. I was like, this is money. But I love Agape. Like, we'll order that a couple times a month at the office. And like, I'm in this space now where I'm trying to get back on track with stuff. And I was complaining about my lunch, because it was like, I know how good Agape can be when you just load it with the spicy feta and all the crazy stuff. And I'm like sitting here munching on kale, and there was just big pieces of kale in it. And I was like, this is like a vegetable fart. It was like, I just feel like a vegetable just farted on me. It's just gross. So yeah, that's my story. Agape. Dude. So today's podcast is presented to you by Agape.
Free promo. They don't even know. I appreciate the vulnerability. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us that, I know we connected around this in 2020, it's just like you couldn't go to the gym and all that stuff shut down, and you wake up and you feel like, I've got to make sure things are taken care of. The world's on fire. It's 5 a.m. Let's go. And then you look up and you've sat all day. It's just so easy to do. And props to you, because I know you're the kind of person who tries to reinvent and get back on it. And yeah, I think we've all been there and can relate. What for you right now would you say, you think about like where the people that are out there trying to make a change in their life, and you know where things are at, generally speaking, in the culture, people are kind of toasty. What would you say to encourage them if there is something in their life or leadership where they're trying to get back on the horse and make that change?
I think like my biggest thing is like not numbing over it or pushing it back, and actually like sitting with the pain for a minute. I feel like that is like the biggest thing that stops people from getting back on the horse or moving forward with something is, and I know this was like totally the church culture that I grew up in, was just like, stuff it down, don't look at it, don't deal with it, move on with it. And it's always there, or you always continue in the same rut. And it's okay to feel like jacked up by something and cry and kind of just like let it go. Like, this is effed up and the spot where I'm at is not good. And you know what? I'm just going to sit in that for a minute and then make the decision from there to be like, okay, I felt my feelings. Let's move. Let's move this thing forward. Yeah, it's hard to not stay stuck, because sometimes stuck is easier than the pain of pushing forward.
Yeah, man, thank you. I mean, I know that that's just such an honest thing for people wherever they are. And we need more of that encouragement, because we start to beat ourselves up. Well, I'm not the person I thought I was because I didn't get it done today. And we all have those days. We all have those moments. No one is perfectly motivated every day. We're continually advancing. And I think what's fun about this today is like, there's a few people that that were on the podcast the last time I did a set of interviews, which was like 5 years ago. It's crazy. And so to know, like, you have kept on the path of exactly what you just described. I'm not going to numb out. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to pay attention to what's happening. I'm going to let myself go through that. And there's so much human experience that's happening for people, and they're absorbing so much. What do you do as a leader right now to, like, try to get the best from your team and not, use self-care as a way of creating a dysfunctional environment, but also make space for them to be where they are? It doesn't have to be polished or perfectly thought out, but what are you doing right now to care for your team that way?
Yeah, I think, like, based off of my experience, if you have the right people on the team, giving them the space to self-correct, and almost like to what some leaders would say, you're getting involved too late, or they would jump on it really fast. With the right people, the right team, that self-correction happens, because it's like they know, as a culture, the organization and the rest of my team is up here and I'm back here, and I know it and I feel it. And just kind of like, I really, a lot of times with our team, don't have to say much. It's just like, all of a sudden it'll be like, hey, like, I'm feeling this, and I did this, and I'm going to make this change, and we're going to go. And I'm like, dope. Thank you, one, for acknowledging that, realizing that, moving on, and let's rock and roll. And that just creates like a really transparent culture where there is, I mean, to use your words, there's no proving, there's no hiding. It's like, here's where we are. Life is crazy. Things happen. Your home life will bleed into your work life and vice versa, and all of that. And it ebbs and flows. And so just being able to, give them a safe space to be like, you can screw up here and not get yelled at. We'll figure it out together. Yeah, but I think it definitely goes back, like, if you don't have the right team in place, those things don't work. That completely falls apart. So like the people piece, I mean, that's everything.
Yeah. When for you, and if you may not remember a time, was there a light bulb that went off, or was it gradual, where you really were like, I want to be a good human. I want to develop. I want to get better. I want to help people get better. Is there a time you look back and you can see some awareness light bulb go off, or is it something that, you look at today and you're like, no, I don't remember not being this way?
I think it was, we could have like a 5-hour podcast on my bad church experiences, but, really, like, after having 2 back-to-back bad experiences with abusive pastors, like, it was kind of like time to just like look inward. And I think that I had been spoon-fed my faith, spoon-fed what I thought was like my character, my personality, my like all that, or had to tone down certain areas. And it kind of just got to this point where it was just like, what do I really think? What do I really believe? And how can I become, what I know I need to become, I guess, just like shift those parts of me where I get in my own way and kind of move past them. And it's been painful. It was painful to like look at that. I always use that example of like so at Discovery Church, when I met you, it was like, I had let everybody else build this house that was me and my faith and my all of that. Like, I looked around sitting in the living room of this house and couldn't recognize, like, I didn't put that couch there. I didn't paint the walls that color. I didn't put up that wallpaper. And like just stripping it down to the studs and going, what do I want this to be? And who do I want to become? And what kind of dad, what kind of husband do I want to be? All of that. And from there, it was just like, baby steps of lots of cleaning out, but like just like slowly but surely working on all of those things.
Dude, thank you for the vulnerability. And for those listening, just to give context, when Ryan talks about these experiences, he was he was one of the main leaders in these contexts on staff. That was his job. So not just a little bit of exposure on Sunday to the dysfunction, but all week long. And yeah, that was a galvanizing experience, and it's powerful to hear what you took from it. Okay, so when you think about yourself like this house, and I didn't put that couch there, what's something that you go, man, I like this about being me. I enjoy this about who I am.
I think something that I have maintained is like definitely this like sense of optimism. Like I don't ever really feel stuck. I will feel frustrated with circumstances, but it's just like, and I think you've known me long enough that it's like, okay, well that didn't work. Like pivot here, move here. Like, and I think that's like my wife protects me, because she understands that about me, that I'm just kind of like, positive to a fault and trusting to a fault. So it's good to have somebody in my life that will like look out for me in that way. But I think that that's something that has gotten me to like where I'm at. Just the network that I have, the connections that I have is just like, hey, if it's mine, it's yours. Like we're going to figure this thing out together. And if that doesn't work, we'll find another way to move things forward. And that's why, like, I think we grew through the pandemic because of that. I think that you and I had a conversation. It was like people who are smart are making moves right now where everybody's cutting back. A lot of people are pushing forward. And I think that ground, as the pandemic kind of like is tapering off, not out of it yet, but like tapering off, is like people are having to rebuild everything. And we're a mile ahead of where we could have been if I would have taken my foot off the gas. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And your wife does keep people straight, because she's going to kill us. She's going to kill me.
Use your turn signal, Chris.
Randomly, I was driving out in the country a little bit farther from our house, and it was all my wrong. Didn't have my turn signal on and turned, and she didn't know it was me. And man, she was setting me straight. Woo! It was so fun, so funny. Yeah. I look at it like almost those that have been in business for a while. 2008 was this total reorientation, that time period for a lot of businesses, and then you kind of had this growth, and then boom, COVID wave, and all the craziness the last couple of years. And I think now what's about to hit possibly is this longer term financial wave, and be bigger. And so, it's like we got to be vigilant but not stressed about it. And yeah, your strength shows up there so much. Where right now are the edges of your curiosity, being piqued? It might not be in relationship to business. It might be in personal growth or some other field. But you're like, man, I'm really enjoying learning about this, or I'd like to explore this more.
Is this where we can talk about psychedelics? And cut this part out.
So this is something you're getting interested in.
Yeah, like really, I mean, for me, it's nothing crazy right now. Like, so I've just, so D8, D10, like those things they're legal in 47 states or 48 states. Amazing as a tool, especially growing up like straight edge kid in a charismatic church, like couldn't even think about doing any sort of drug or stayed away from weed. Okay, so here's what's really funny. I have this story that the one time in Youngstown, I was at Frank Old Middle School, 5th grade. I was offered angel dust in my gym class. So like,
oh dang.
Yeah, like
That's
PCP. Yeah. So like 5th grade. So like if I start to say, so if any conversation starts to go towards like drugs or something with my wife, I'd be like, well, in 5th grade. And as soon as I say that, she's just like, here it comes. Cause it's always like my drug talk with my kids. Like I'll be like, well, in 5th grade I was offered. But so I never really touched anything like that. But it is so cool to read about it and to read about how microdosing and mushrooms and like all these like psilocybin, the effect that it can have on depression and anxiety for 6 months. Like one trip does that versus anxiety to pills every day. And like, so even just D8 for me is like a way to disconnect my brain in a really, really great way. Like, so I think that as a business owner, as a dad, as a husband, like all the roles, all the hats, all the things that we're trying to do to get to a space where it's like, hey, for a couple hours, it's just like, boop, like I am a dandelion in a field somewhere. And like, it's awesome. And I think that, that's been something that's just been fascinating me lately. And I've been reading about it. There's a great, Netflix documentary that I watched about, ergot and like all the different like things. I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. My wife's terrified that like the FBI is going to like drop through like the ceiling with like cable. I'm like, we're using D8. It's like, you can buy it online and it's perfectly legal. Like, stop. So.
Wow. So it's fascinating to hear, because I think the culture is shifting so much around this conversation, and it's going to work out the edges of it. And you're a person who is thoughtful and careful and takes the steps in a wise way, I know. But at the same time, you're not limited by, what other people are saying. You're trying to learn for yourself. So thanks for the vulnerability.
Yeah.
What for you do you, because I know a lot of the listeners that have been through Figure That Shift Out get encouragement just hearing people's stories. What for you do you still, use the most or shows up the most with the least amount of effort from the work that you did going through Figure That Shift Out?
It's the pause. Like, so being able to, in those really intense moments, the really hurtful moments, the really scary moments, rather than an immediate reaction, just like I'm going to, like, literally in my mind can stop and go to a safe space and like look at the situation objectively and be like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I acting this way? Why am I afraid of what's happening? Where is there a lie that I am letting, like, take root in my brain here, that's something that's not actually happening? And so that ability to pause and almost zoom out has been invaluable. It's been so awesome. Even talking, like, I'll tell you what, like I've been able to help my kids with that. So like, passing that on, not even in a way like using, all the terminology from SightShift or anything like that, but just trying to, in vocabulary they would understand.
Yeah.
If Britain is having like a moment, be like, hey, here's what I do. And watching them like, hey, that actually worked. Like, that's pretty sick. So I really, the pause and being able to zoom out and, kind of like question myself and see like, why am I getting worked up over something? I use it every day.
Dude, that's incredible. And props to you to be the person who does the work, who leans in and gets that. And I love to hear about the way, you're just meeting them where they are with their vocabulary. Because once you relax into these skills, the return continues. Makes me sad that, because we're going to keep jamming after, that the episode is so short, because I know both of us are going to have to split. But dude, thank you for being here and sharing. And for those that want more, this is something that I get to say with a lot of joy and passion. So much that you would see or touch or feel or hear with SightShift, Ryan and Brave Little Beast have shaped, designed, had an impact in. And I know when I have a project, boom, where I'm headed. And continue to amaze at even how you'll talk about things that have solved problems that I can't find solved anywhere else. So if people did want to interact, check you out, possibly work with you, what's the best place they could go to?
Yeah, just bravelittlebeast.com. You'll be able to kind of see the work that we have done, case studies, all of that, and read more about the Brand Magic Workshop. There's a little link in there too. Like, if you just want to connect and kind of, even if it's over like a digital coffee, love hearing from people doing awesome stuff. That is how some of my best client relationships have started, with not really a direct purpose to them, but it turns into something that I can help them with what I've learned. So, yeah.
Dude, awesome. BraveLittleBeast.com. Thanks for being here, my friend, and sharing so vulnerably.
Yeah, thanks for having me.